Grizzlies fans, welcome back into another Grizz Game Day update. This one is a very special one because it is MLK Day here in Memphis, which everyone knows is very special, especially here in this city. Joining me to break this one down is Kylen Mills, and I am so excited to break this one down because there are some storylines that I cannot wait to hear you talk about. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Great to meet you and happy to talk Warriors Grizzlies. I'm a little bit sad that I feel like this particular matchup is watered down a little bit by some of the injuries, particularly for Memphis, but there are plenty of Warriors storylines that I'll clue you in on, and it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no matter what, it's going to be fun. There's like a little budding rivalry between these two teams after the whole whoop that trick thing. And it's been fun
Yeah,
ever since. Dylan Brooks is obviously not here, and he was a big catalyst
right.
for that. And as you alluded to, the Grizzlies without a whole lot of players today. Active tonight for the Grizzlies, there is just 8 players. All of them but 2 are under the age of 25, and the 2 that are over are both 27. We are young today. Just got the news yesterday that Desmond Bane will be out at least 6 weeks. He'll be reevaluated in 6 after stepping on James Harden's foot and rolling his ankle. He didn't get a Shams tweet, but another one of our just like rotation guys in Jake LaRavia is also out for at least 3 weeks. And so that leaves not very many guys. If you're the Warriors coming into this, when it's the battle of the 12th and 13th teams in the West, you're coming off a loss to the Bucks. You know the Grizzlies are coming off kind of a tight loss to the Knicks. Knowing that they don't have all these guys, Jaren Jackson Jr. right now is the only starter who could potentially play. He's questionable. Santi Aldama is also questionable. How do you come in and not overlook this Grizzlies team?
The Warriors can't overlook any team at this point in the season. They're a couple games below 500. They have been underperforming expectations massively this season. And Steph Curry has said it in his post-game press conferences and media availabilities. Like, they cannot overlook anyone at this point. Just last week, they beat the Detroit Pistons barely. Crunch came down to the wire, 2 3-point victory. So this is a Warriors team that is very aware of where they're at in the standings. They're very aware of how they've performed this season. Steph has flat out said, I feel like I deserve the boost that I've been getting at Chase Center, because that's something that's happened in the last week that has been a little bit eye-popping to the fan base and people around the NBA. But fans are frustrated. The team is frustrated. It's been a disappointing first half of the season for the Warriors, and they're completely aware.
Yeah, Chris Paul is of course out. That was a big one. GP2's
Right.
been out for a while. Um, I want to talk about Steph, of course, because we'll talk about how to defend him, how to contain him if you can. But first, the big storyline is that Draymond Green is going to be back from his suspension today against the Grizzlies for this MLK Day game on TNT. And I think there's a lot of questions surrounding him. And I don't want to get into like therapy and his mindset, but what he brings to the team is undeniable. And the NBA is better with him in it when he is playing safely. Draymond Green, defensively, offensively, what does he do to boost this Warriors team?
Draymond Green plays a huge role both for the Warriors on offense and defense. First of all, on offense, he's a point forward. He not only can do things in terms of setting screens and being able to help space the floor for other guys, but also his ability to bring the ball up and handle some of those responsibilities is going to be extra important with Chris Paul injured. As you pointed out, something the Warriors have been trying to do this season is to take some of those ball handling responsibilities away from Steph Curry to free him up in more of a 2 position, which is why head coach Steve Kerr has at times been starting Chris Paul or the rookie Brandon Pajemski at the point guard position and playing Steph off ball, because the Warriors want to do that to try to free him up a little bit to get more shots. It's no secret at this point in the league what Steph Curry can do, and teams are continuing to evolve and find different ways to guard him. So one thing the Warriors have been doing is playing someone else at that one spot. And Draymond Green is a guy who can also run the offense. He's extremely smart, so he does bring that. Like I said, maybe not an offensive threat in terms of attacking the basket. Wish he would a little bit more, but his knowledge of the Warriors offense, ability to bring the ball up, his ability to work with Steph Curry on the pick and roll is something that can't be replaced. So that's going to be huge on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, he's their captain. Draymond Green always in the right spots. He's pointing out and leading other guys. He's able to lock down some of the best players in the NBA still at 30 plus. Sure, some people want to point out maybe he's lost a half step, but I think because he's so smart, he's ahead of the play. He's always so sharp on rotations. He's a player that's very difficult to beat because he's always one step ahead. So you don't necessarily need to have that extra half step of speed because he's always thinking and reading the play so well. So that's where his presence is going to be huge. Without Draymond Green, the Warriors went 8-8. Their defensive rating was the second worst in the league, 29th, only ahead of the Detroit Pistons. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of the defensive presence as well. They need Draymond Green to come back in and be Dre, especially on the defensive end of the floor.
Okay, you mentioned that Steph Curry was getting some boos. Just real quick, do you think Draymond gets like a lot of boos tonight at FedEx Forum? Like they already don't like him.
Yeah. I think Draymond gets boos, right? I mean,
I think so too.
Draymond is one of the most hated players around the NBA. It was interesting. I got to go to Boston to cover the NBA finals 2 years ago. And like going around just doing pieces, talking with fans and stuff, like he was the number one player that would come up that everyone's just like, I can't stand Draymond Green. So I wouldn't be shocked.
One of the last times he was here, he got ejected. And again, it was very chippy both ways. He got ejected and gave the double middle finger to fans on the way out. I just think like coming back from suspension, plus his history inside FedEx Forum, I think there's going to be some boos tonight.
Yeah. That wouldn't surprise me, but the thing is, Draymond's a player who feeds off of it. Like
Oh,
he
yeah.
actually loves it, and he talks about it. He's like, I embrace that. He kind of likes the villain role, you know. And I think that when he does things like flipping the bird, like he knows what he's doing, but he feeds off of that. So you know, I wouldn't be surprised if it happens, and I don't think Draymond will be rattled.
Okay, the last two things are quite big things. I'm going to ask you a little bit about Steph Curry because this is, you brought up the lows of the defense, still a top 10 scoring team in the league because you're led by the best shooter of all time, Steph Curry, shooting 40% from the three-point line, along with, I'm just going to lump these two guys together. Jonathan Kuminga is coming off a career high 28 points with 10 made field goals. First time in his career, he's had 20 or more points in consecutive games. These two guys, what have they done offensively, and how do you think the Grizzlies can go into this one and try and contain them both?
So the thing about Steph Curry is that teams know already what he brings. Double teams, triple teams, those are expected. The big thing for the Warriors is that they need a secondary and third scorer because yes, Steph is going to have big nights. He's also going to have nights where defenses are able to shut him down. I mean, I think the big thing is just not giving him any room. Teams have done different things to defend the pick and roll that some have worked better than others. And also just with shooters, there are going to be off shooting nights. They're going to be nights where you are just hitting more. Steph Curry has obviously many more nights where he's hitting than not, but you know, I don't know if there's any one simple solution to shutting down Steph Curry. Can other guys around him hit shots when Steph is drawing so many defenders to him? He has so much gravity, and that's been a big problem for the Warriors this season is they have not had a regular and consistent secondary or third scorer. Klay Thompson's numbers are the worst of his career as of right now in terms of shooting efficiency, points per game, a number of different stats. And then Andrew Wiggins, who was a huge factor in the Warriors championship 2 years ago, has had a completely disappointing season. He's been moved to the bench. He was at times their second best player. So that's where Jonathan Kuminga emerging has been so huge. And the Warriors need these type of consistent scoring outbursts from him. Jonathan Kuminga, just one of the most athletic players you'll see in the NBA. Great verticality, the ability to finish around the rim. He's another player who can work great in the pick and roll. He's been developing more of his outside shot as well. That's something he's been working on, shooting around 33% from the three-point line. So that gives him a little bit of an ability to space the floor. And then, you know, just like I said, his learning the offense and being able to read the different plays, play off of Steph, work in the pick and roll. That's something that he's been developing because as a young player, the Warriors motion offense is very complicated.
Oh.
So it did take him a little bit of time to really try to get into the groove, learn the guys that he's playing with, learn the system. But I think now year 3, this is why you're starting to see so many, you know, such bigger numbers and, you know, starting to see some of those more consistent 20-point scoring performances, like you mentioned, 2 straight games. Now the Warriors need this from, I don't want to say every night, but if the Warriors could get this type of production from Jonathan Kuminga, suddenly you'd feel very, very good about where they're heading in the second half of the season because a big problem has been getting someone who's going to be consistently a secondary scorer to Steph. It's still a big question mark for the Warriors right now. Jonathan Kuminga could be the guy.
Kylen, thank you so much for coming on and breaking this one down. It's going to be a fun game. Again, it tips off at 5 p.m. So if you are driving into FedEx Forum, leave very, very early, drive safely, stay warm. And Kylen, I appreciate your time so much.